The prison library was one of the few quiet places in the facility. Rows of old books, a few tables, and dim lighting provided a rare sanctuary. Mike Tyson sat there reading, trying to escape the reality of his surroundings for just an hour. Then, 3 inmates walked in. They weren't there for the books. One had something tucked into his waistband, the other 2 flanked him like shadows. They stopped at Mike's table. "We need to talk," the leader said. Mike looked up and sighed. "Here we go again." The library wasn't large, maybe 20 by 30 feet, with metal shelving units along the walls holding worn paperbacks and outdated hardcovers. A few small tables with plastic chairs were scattered around. Overhead fluorescent lights hummed, some flickering slightly. It was a place where inmates could sit without the constant noise and tension of the cell blocks. It was mid-afternoon during recreational time when inmates could choose between the yard, the day room, or the library. Most chose the yard. The library usually held only a handful of people, those who genuinely wanted to read or those who wanted to hide from the chaos. Mike Tyson was there for both reasons. Reading helped pass the time and allowed him to think about something other than prison walls and the monotony of daily routines. That afternoon he was reading a book on philosophy recommended by one of the education volunteers. It was heavy material, but it kept his mind sharp. He sat at a corner table with his back to the wall, a habit he'd developed to ensure he could always see who was entering and exiting. The prison librarian, an elderly woman volunteering through a community program, sat at her desk near the entrance sorting returned books. 2 other inmates were in the room, one reading a magazine at a table across the hall and another browsing the shelves. It was peaceful, exactly what Mike needed. Then the door opened, and 3 men walked in. Mike noticed them immediately. Their body language was all wrong for a library. Purposeful and focused, they didn't look like people casually browsing. They moved like they were on a mission. The man in the center was Victor, a lifer in his late 30s, white, heavily tattooed, and possessing the kind of hardened face that comes from decades in the system. Victor was well known. He wasn't the biggest name, but he was connected and respected by certain groups, the kind of man who carried weight. To his right was Derek. Mike recognized him instantly. He was the man from the card game, the one who had accused Mike of cheating, and ended up learning a hard lesson about respect. Derek's eyes met Mike's briefly, before he looked away. He was there, but he clearly wasn't the one running the show. To Victor's left was Carlos, a Latino inmate in his 30s, and one of Victor's crew. Quiet and loyal, he was the type of guy who simply followed orders. They walked straight to Mike's table, their footsteps echoing slightly in the quiet room. The other 2 inmates noticed the shift in energy, exchanged looks, and suddenly found reasons to leave. One quickly checked out his magazine, while the other abandoned his search for books and headed for the door. They knew what was coming. The librarian looked up, concern crossing her face, but she stayed at her desk, uncertain of what to do. Victor stopped at Mike's table with his 2 companions flanking him. Mike looked up from his book, his expression neutral. "We need to talk," Victor said in a low, authoritative voice. Mike slowly closed his book, marking his place with a scrap of paper. "About what?" Victor pulled out a chair and sat down uninvited, leaning forward on his elbows. Derek and Carlos remained standing, creating a wall between Mike and the rest of the library. "I heard what you did to Derek at the card game," Victor said, gesturing slightly toward Derek without looking at him. Mike glanced at Derek, who was staring at the floor with a clenched jaw. "Derek had a problem with losing," Mike said calmly. "He took it out on me. I handled it." "Yeah, you handled it," Victor said with a sharp edge to his voice. "You embarrassed him in front of everyone, made him look like a fool." "He did that to himself," Mike countered. "He accused me of something I didn't do, and put his hands on me." I responded. Victor leaned back, his expression hardening. "See, that's the problem, Tyson. Derek here is one of my people. We're from the same block, same crew. When someone disrespects my people, they're disrespecting me." Mike's eyes shifted to Derek, who still avoided eye contact. "So, he sent you to fight his battles?" "I don't fight battles," Victor snapped. "I end them." The tension in the library spiked. The librarian had noticed the confrontation and was reaching for the phone, likely calling security. "Derek started something he couldn't finish," Mike said, his voice calm but laced with steel. "That's not my problem, it's his." "It became my problem when you made him look weak," Victor said. He shifted slightly, and Mike caught a glimpse of something in his waistband, a crude handle, likely a Shank. Nobody disrespects my crew like that, not even you. Mike's posture didn't change, but his alertness sharpened. One man with a weapon, two backups, in a confined space. The librarian was on the phone now, speaking urgently. "You really want to do this in the library?" Mike asked. "Cameras everywhere, the librarian right there, guards on the way." "I don't care where we do it," Victor said. "This is about respect, about teaching you that you aren't special in here." Derek finally spoke, his voice uncertain. "Victor, man, maybe we should just drop it." Victor cut him off. "You had your chance. You came crying to me about how Tyson shamed you. Now I'm dealing with it." Mike placed his book on the table carefully. "I gave Derek multiple chances to walk away. I'm giving you the same chance. Walk away. This doesn't have to happen." Victor smirked. "That's where you're wrong, Tyson. This absolutely has to happen." He stood up, his hand moving toward his waistband. Derek and Carlos tensed. The air in the library felt thick. Mike remained seated, watching Victor's movements. In the distance, footsteps thudded. Guards were responding, moving quickly down the hall. But they weren't there yet. Victor pulled the shank from his waistband, a crude piece of sharpened metal wrapped in cloth. He held it low, not yet pointing it at Mike, but the threat was clear. "This isn't a card game," Victor said. "You aren't talking your way out of this." Mike's eyes were locked on the weapon. "Put that away before you do something you can't take back." "Too late," Victor said, stepping closer. The footsteps in the hall were louder now. Victor raised the shank slightly. Derek and Carlos moved to the sides to block any escape routes. "Last chance," Mike said quietly. "For you," Victor replied. Then Mike moved. He didn't wait for Victor to close the distance. In one fluid motion, Mike stood and pivoted, his body rotating as his right leg snapped up in a fast, precise kick aimed at Victor's lead leg. The kick connected just above Victor's knee, not hard enough to break anything, but hard enough to buckle the leg and destroy his balance. Victor's knee gave way, and his torso lunged forward. The shank fell from his hand as he tried to brace himself, clattering across the floor and sliding under a bookshelf. Before Victor could recover, Mike's momentum continued. Victor stumbled and fell, hitting the floor hands first, then knees first, ending up sprawled on the library floor. Derek and Carlos froze. The library door burst open. Two guards rushed in, radios crackling. "Nobody move," a guard shouted. Victor tried to push himself up, his face a mask of pain and fury. One of the guards immediately forced him back down. "Hands behind your back now." Victor complied, and the guard secured his wrists with zip ties. The second guard looked at Derek and Carlos. "You two, hands on the wall." Mike stood by his table, hands visible and calm. The first guard looked at Mike. "Are you involved in this?" "He came at me with a weapon," Mike said, pointing to the shank under the shelf. "I defended myself." The librarian saw the whole thing. The librarian nodded vigorously. "That man pulled out a knife thing and threatened Mr. Tyson." Mr. Tyson only defended himself after the man attacked. Additional guards arrived and the situation was quickly secured. Victor was pulled to his feet, face twisted in rage and shame. Derek and Carlos were searched and detained as well. "You're going to the hole," a guard told Victor. "Threatening another inmate with a weapon, that's serious time added to your sentence." Victor glared at Mike but said nothing. He had been caught with a weapon, witnesses, and clear intent. As they led Victor out, he passed Mike's table. For a moment, their eyes met. Victor's expression was full of heat, but also recognition. He had underestimated Mike, just like Derek had. Derek was escorted out next, head down, avoiding eye contact with everyone. This was his second humiliation involving Mike Tyson, and it was worse because he had involved someone else who also failed. Carlos went quietly, looking relieved it wasn't worse. After they were gone, the senior guard approached Mike. "You okay?" "I'm fine," Mike said. "We're going to need a statement." "Of course," Mike replied. The librarian walked over, still shaking. "Mr. Tyson, I'm so sorry. I called security as soon as I realized what was happening." "You did the right thing," Mike assured her. "Thank you." The guards took statements from both Mike and the librarian. The stories were consistent. Victor had confronted Mike, escalated to threats, pulled a weapon, and Mike had defended himself using the minimum force necessary. The shank was recovered as evidence. The incident report would show that Mike acted in clear self-defense and used restraint, one defensive kick that neutralized the threat without causing serious injury. Mike faced no disciplinary action, Victor, however, faced severe consequences: possession of a weapon, threatening another inmate, and attempted assault. He was sent to solitary confinement, and time was added to his sentence. Derek's reputation, already damaged, took another hit. In the following days, the story spread throughout the prison. Victor had tried to corner Mike Tyson in the library, pulled a Shank, and Mike had dropped him with one kick before the guards even arrived. The message was clear to everyone in the facility: don't mess with Mike Tyson, don't bring weapons to confrontations you can't win, and definitely don't try to intimidate someone who has been fighting professionally since before you learned how to throw a punch. Mike returned to the library the next day. The librarian greeted him warmly. "Mr. Tyson, are you sure you want to be here, after what happened? This is one of the few quiet places in this whole facility," Mike said. "I'm not giving that up because someone else made a bad decision." He sat at the same table, pulled out the same philosophy book, and continued reading where he had left off. In prison, power isn't about how loud you yell, it's about how calm you can stay when everything is trying to pull you into the chaos.